Lamp versus Torch, Bible Corruptions. This message explains a major corruption found in modern Bible translations. In these study notes, I have used the spelling found in the 1611 Authorized King James Version, with the exception of places where the same letter is used to represent different letters, such as V and U. Also, I have maintained the original spellings that the reader may discern between Bibles posing as the 1611 Authorized King James Version and the real thing. The printed copy that I quote from was published August 2005 by Hendrickson Publishers. I'll begin with the word lamp, as found correctly rendered in the real 1611 Authorized King James Version, but incorrectly rendered torch in most other translations. This is a serious corruption, as we shall discover. Now, if you're reading from the Blaney 1769 version of the King James Bible, you won't find this a problem initially. However, nearly all modern Bible translations introduce corruption regarding the verses I'm about to cover. On a side note, although the Blaney version in this regard is okay for the most part, it has many other problems which we'll discuss in more detail in other messages. For the moment, I have singled out the Blaney version as it poses as the 1611 Authorized King James Version, but it is not. In the true 1611 Authorized King James Version, Psalm 119 verse 105 reads, "Thy word is a lamp unto my feet, and a light unto my path." Nearly every Christian is familiar with this verse, and for that reason, most modern Bible translators have not tampered with the word lamp. The only translation that I could find that messes with the word lamp in this verse is the TLB, the Living Bible, and it uses the word flashlight, rendering it, "Your words are a flashlight to light the path ahead." Not only does this rendering eliminate the doctrine I'm about to discuss, but it produces a very awkward, unpoetic, and unnecessary textual variant. I suspect having more to do with copyright legalities than with faithfully translating the Hebrew to English. Regardless, the problem is not so much with this verse in most modern Bible translations, but many other verses found throughout the Bible that have been corrupted, that otherwise would lead the reader to Psalm 119, verse 105, where it would become evident that the word torch is wrong. Because the real 1611 Authorized King James Version contains no corruptions, it is superior to all modern translations, in that, among other things, it makes it possible to cross-reference all doctrines and verify their veracity. In other words, everything can be found in more than one place, supporting Jesus' statement that the truth is established in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. Conversely, when modern Bibles change certain words, they destroy the testimony of other witnesses in the Bible that are meant to testify of the same truths. We are left with doctrinal uncertainty because necessary internal correlations are no longer possible. So, if we accept that the Word of God is a lamp, as found in Psalm 119 verse 105 in the 1611 Authorized King James Version, then we can begin to correlate that with other verses confirming that truth and other truths. For example, Psalm chapter 132 verse 17 reads, "There will I make the home of David to bud. I have ordained a lamp for mine anointed." Thus we know that the lamp spoken of is the Word of God, or the pure testimony of God, which the truly anointed will possess. And in the case of Jesus, which this is no doubt a reference to, we have an expression of Jesus the Logos. That is the Word in both His incarnation and expressed in the written Word. And this lines up with Psalm 119 verse 105. "Thy word is a lamp unto my feet." Both Jesus and the written Word illuminate the path of the believer, insofar as it is the pure Word of God. This doctrine is firmly established in the 1611 Authorized King James Version. To their credit, most modern Bible translations do not distort the meaning of this verse. However, there are some that do, like TLB, TPT, OJB, WYC, NCV, NET, and NLT, among others. Similarly, 1 Kings chapter 15 verse 4 establishes that David was given a lamp in Jerusalem to set the path for his son, referring to Jesus, and to establish Jerusalem. So again we find the word lamp indicating that the Word of God would declare Jesus the Messiah in Jerusalem. And like King David, he would eventually sit on the throne of Jerusalem, being the rightful heir and of the lineage of David. Again, to their credit, all but a few modern Bibles distort this doctrine of the lamp of Jerusalem, Jesus the Messiah, and the Word of God. However, the problems begin in Revelation chapter 8, verses 10 and 11, with most modern translations. Here you will find the word lamp changed to torch in all but a handful. Comparatively, the Authorized King James Version reads, "And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp. And it fell upon the third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood." Most modern Bible translations replace the word lamp with torch, and this is where major problems begin. Firstly, when torch is used, we can no longer correlate this verse with Psalm 119, verse 105, where lamp in the 1611 Authorized King James Version is established as the Word of God. That connection is completely removed from most modern Bible translations. And so the rendering of Revelation chapter 8, verse 10, in most is as follows, or something akin to the RSV, Revised Standard Version. "The third angel blew his trumpet, and a great star fell from heaven, blazing like a torch, and it fell on a third of the rivers and on the fountains of water." Now remember, the Bible teaches that the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, and herein lies such a proof. Because the word torch cannot be correlated with the word lamp and the Word of God, we have no idea what the text means when it says blazing like a torch. In fact, the deeper meaning, the strong meat, is removed from the text, and we are left with little more than a bright light falling from the sky, commonly thought to be a meteorite or something akin. However, the 1611 Authorized King James Version, when it says, "burning as it were a lamp," makes it clear that it is not the lamp of God, that it is not the Word of God, the lamp unto my feet, as declared in Psalm 119, verse 105, but something like it, but not it. This important distinction is distorted in most modern Bible translations. And that which the Spirit saith unto the churches is either obscured or removed. Whereas in this particular case, the 1611 Authorized King James Version establishes that thing burning as it were a lamp, underline as it were a lamp, is something appearing to be a lamp unto my feet, or the Word of God. But it is not. It is something like it, only appearing as such. And so the prophecy of Revelation chapter 8 verses 10 and 11, as taught in the 1611 Authorized King James Version, heralds the coming of false Bibles, false lamps appearing as the Word of God, falling catastrophically upon the rivers and upon the fountains of waters. We may further understand that rivers flow into lakes and oceans, and the fountains of water feed all waters on earth. And as the 1611 Authorized King James Version teaches, many waters represents the people and nations of earth, such as stated in Revelation chapter 17, verse 1. "Come hither, I will show thee the judgment of the great whore, that sitteth upon many waters." And so the doctrine eliminated from modern translations that remove lamp and replace it with torch is that all people and nations will be inundated with the false lamp, the false Word of God. Conversely, the 1611 Authorized King James Version tells us that the false lamp or word will first fall upon 1/3 of all rivers and upon the fountains of waters, thus eventually contaminating all lakes, oceans, and waters. And in the 1611 Authorized King James Version, in Revelation chapter 8, verse 11, it calls the false word, the thing appearing as a lamp, wormwood by name. And it says, and many died of the waters because they were made bitter, meaning that the thing appearing, as it were, a lamp, is a source of poison, spiritual poison. And those that consume it, and the things it contaminates, consume poison and will die from it, just as Adam and Eve died spiritually and physically, because they believed the words of the serpent over the pure words of God. Because of this, and many other reasons, I encourage all who name the name of Christ to take the small words as seriously as the big ones. Every word is the Word of God, or none of it is. When we adopt this attitude, many things previously thought incomprehensible become clear. Thus, when Psalm chapter 119, verse 105 says, "Thy word is a lamp," it means precisely that. When Revelation 18:10 refers to something burning as it were a lamp, the Spirit is telling us that it is not a lamp per se, but something like it, but not it. Because Satan does not want us to discern the prophecy that a false word called wormwood would impersonate the real word of God, the true lamp, he has made every subtle effort to obscure that doctrine in his false Bibles. He has done this in nearly every modern version, which includes more than 900 English translations, partial translations, paraphrases, and theme Bibles. The only Bible without doctrinal corruption is the 1611 Authorized King James Version, the one actually approved by King James and the Translation Committee. Let us briefly examine certain verses in Job chapter 41. The entire chapter is a description of Leviathan, who is a picture of Satan. Note that the real 1611 Authorized King James Version capitalizes the L in Leviathan, while the corrupt versions, such as the Blaney 1769 claiming to be the 1611, do not. The reason the real 1611 Authorized King James Version uses a capital is to establish a proper noun, denoting that Leviathan is an individual person, while the corrupted Bibles, including the Blaney 1769, use a lowercase l, leaving room for doubt whether or not this is in fact meant to be a lengthy description of the person of Satan. I'll not read the entire chapter. You can do that on your own. However, for further clarification, let us jump to the last two verses of the chapter. They read, "Upon earth there is not his like who is made without fear. He beholdeth all high things. He is king over all the children of pride." Thus, in keeping with verse 1, we have a final confirmation that chapter 41 is indeed a description of Satan, the king of the children of pride. Proverbs chapter 8, verse 13, among many other scriptures, describes God's view of the prideful. It reads, "The fear of the Lord is to hate evil pride, and arrogancy, and the evil way, and the froward mouth do I hate." And John writes, "For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world." Having firmly established that Job chapter 41 is a description of Satan by way of metaphor, we can now turn to verses 18 through 21 as follows. "By his neesings a light doth shine, and his eyes are like eyelids of the morning. Out of his mouth go burning lamps, and sparks of fire leap out. Out of his nostrils goeth smoke as out of a seething pot or cauldron. His breath kindleth coals, and a flame goeth out of his mouth." Thus the words of Satan proceed from his mouth. They are burning lamps, not a lamp unto my feet, as declared of the true word of God in Psalm 119, verse 105, and found in the 1611 Authorized King James Version. Lucifer's word is the false word, the false lamp. His words only appear as a lamp unto my feet, but they are not that which the psalmist speaks of, but in fact they are the enemy of the true word of God, corrupt counterfeits. Indeed, the entire quiver of false Bibles is the burning lamps of Lucifer. It is wormwood. Thank you for listening, all my Patreon subscribers. If you'd like to download my notes, I've attached them in a PDF. feel free to print them out and distribute them, but only in their complete and entire present form.